What's up guys and welcome. You are watching Fazi Fitness. So let's start this video with the reigning Miss Olympia, Samson Dauda, putting in work to win his second Arnold Classic title, which is of course happening next year in March. And with him being the only guy from this year's Olympia top 4 doing that show. Yes, I know Andrew Jack is gonna be there at this year's Arnold, but he wasn't in the top 4. So it seems like that this is gonna be an easy win for Samson Dauda. And as of right now, just like I mentioned, the only guy who can pose a challenge to Samson Dauda, who is also confirmed for this upcoming Arnold, that is Andrew Jack. So do you guys think that this is gonna be an easy win for Samson Dauda? Well, I have got to say I won't be surprised, especially if he gets even better than what we saw at the Olympia from Samson. And considering the way he has been training after the Olympia this year, the way he has been putting in work, and the way he seems so focused on the actual goal. And also we have seen it so many times from Samson that he improves so much from one show to the next one. So do not be surprised if Samson actually beats his Olympia package. Now I have got to say there hasn't been an Olympia champion like Samson Dauda in quite a while now. So the man currently weighs 330 pounds, which again I have got to say is just so insane because it has only been 5 weeks since this year's Miss Olympia. But it has become such a normal thing for Samson that we have gotten used to it and nobody gets surprised anymore. Now another thing that I do want to point out here is that there hasn't been a Miss Olympia who weighs over 300 pounds on the stage with such a tiny waistline and such insane proportions. And that is exactly what makes Samson Dauda so damn unique and also so dangerous. So the only thing that he needs to do at this point is to be consistent, which is obviously hard for a guy of that size. But if he's able to do that, he is gonna be just so unstoppable. As for this upcoming Arnold, someone really needs to step up their game and create some hype for this upcoming show. Because Samson Dauda at this point, he just seems so good as of right now. And he looks so unbeatable.
And with Derek, was it a question of him being off, or was it a question of him?
It was. If Derek would have been the Derek of the year before, I don't know what would have happened. His legs were small. He just was off. I don't know what he did wrong, but he was off.
So placing third at his first ever Miss Olympia title defense, that was the worst case scenario for Derek Linsford. And he did not even think of that in his wildest dreams. In fact, he himself said that he was in total shock because in their minds, they were winning after the prejudging. Now, I have got to ask you guys, was third place really the worst case scenario for Derek? Well, it turns out it wasn't. Listen to this clip from the latest episode from Fawaz's YouTube channel, where the head judge Steve Weinberger, he said that there was a solid argument that Martin Fitzwater, he could have beaten the reigning Miss Olympia, Derek Linsford, especially during the finals.
When he first came out, he looked like top 3 material, but
that's what I thought.
As the night went on, he fell apart.
So on Saturday night, when you saw Martin up there, could you have made a case for him being third?
Yes, you could have. Yes, but it was not enough time and not enough points.
And that, I have got to say, is such a big statement, and it can be explained 2 ways. First, how good was Martin Fitzwater? That on his Olympia debut, he was about to take out the reigning champion, and he could have placed as high as top 3 at his Olympia debut. Or in Steve's opinion, how off was Derek that some of the judges, they thought that he could have been 4th?
What about
you could make an argument for him being in 3rd. You absolutely could. He was awesome on Saturday night.
And it was not just the imbalance of Derek's physique, where his quads looked smaller than his upper half, because Steve Weinberger even said that Derek's conditioning, that wasn't the same as it was in the previous years, which is really unbelievable. Since Derek put his heart and soul into this prep, he did not leave any stone unturned. And this was a very grueling Olympia prep for Derek. Not only he trained harder than last year, but he dieted harder than before as well, because he knew that the pressure is on him to defend the title. So right now Derek has no coach, and if he is relaxing a bit, not looking to compete at this upcoming Arnold. But again, the thing is that Martin Fitzwater, improving at such a fast pace, Derek will also be needing to step it up for 2025 season. The most important thing is that he has to make his quads match his upper body so that he can have more of that V-taper, so that he can have his insane proportions back. And that is what he needs to reclaim that throne. And with Martin being the biggest star of 2024, there is nothing more to say about him. That he's setting himself as a legitimate Olympia title contender for the future, possibly as early as next year.
What about second? Could you have seen Martin ahead of Hadi or no?
No.
Not that good yet.
No.
I know until we see Blessing Awodibu's legs, it is all just hype, because his upper body, that has always been extremely impressive, but he has never looked this big ever before in any of his previous off seasons. In fact, I have got to say he hasn't even been close to weighing above 320 pounds, because that is what he weighs in this recent physique update. And even at such a heavy body weight, I think we can agree that that is a great off-season condition to be in, and especially the width on him, that is truly mind-boggling. Now one must believe in Blessing that if he is ever to make a big impact in the IFBB Pro League, in the Men's Open, that this has got to be the year in 2025, considering the fact that he hasn't stepped on stage since Flex Pro Italy last year. So the thing is, if this really big off season that won't grow his quads, then I'm afraid to say nothing will ever do that for him. So a lot of expectations from Blessing on how he is gonna show up next year. Now we do know that the last time he took the whole year off, he came back so much better, and he won 2 shows back to back in the end of New York Pro, and he looked extremely impressive in both of those shows. Now I have got to say he himself got himself in trouble by making all those big claims that he is gonna crack top 6 at his Olympia debut back in 2022, which was being totally delusional. So the next time we will see him on the stage, that is probably gonna be Blessing's biggest, and hopefully his best shape of his life, and hopefully with bigger quads, and maybe we will see him on the Olympia stage next year. But do let me know what you guys think.
Posed down in the crowd with everyone and all that stuff. Came second place at my first open bodybuilding show and my last open bodybuilding show. Maybe not, I don't know.
So Chris Bumstead jokingly said that after this year's Prog Pro, he is gonna play the Kai Green card for the next 5 years to hype everyone up. So here's a clip from his latest YouTube video. They kept that window open for the fans to speculate whether Cbum will ever return in the future and do another Men's Open show, perhaps with a proper off-season. Now, I have got to say, if that ever happens, that is gonna be the most exciting thing in the bodybuilding world. And Steve Weinberger, who was there judging Prog Pro this year, he said that although Chris did not have that size and the thickness to beat a guy like Martin, but that was only for now, and he can't change that in another 6 months. And if he really puts his heart into the Men's Open bodybuilding and try to get bigger, to grow for this division, he can beat a guy like Martin, and he can be as high as top 4 in the world.
But I think
he does not have enough muscle, in my opinion, to be considered a bodybuilder. He has enough shape to be a bodybuilder, but not enough muscle. He had the shape to win the show, but not enough muscle to win that show. And it's still a bodybuilding show, and that's why we have classic physique and we have bodybuilding. And he still has a classic physique bodybuilder. I'm sure in 6 months he could probably turn that around. I shouldn't say I'm sure. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised, but he's done. You know what I mean?
Weinberger made that pretty clear. Now you need to have size in order to win these Men's Open show, especially when you are going up against the top 4 in the world. But the fact that many people still thought, including some of the former Men's Open legends, that Cbum really pushed Martin by just using one rebound phase, that just goes to show you how insane he would be, how insane he will look if he does a planned Opens show, maybe sometime in the future. So Cbum right now is 29 years old. He can take a break for, I'm gonna say 3 years, and he would still be so young. But as Jay Cutler once said, once you take a break from this bodybuilding lifestyle, then it is extremely hard to come back and beat your best. But do let me know what you guys think. Next up, we have a 6 weeks post-Olympia physique update from Wesley Vissers. So he is most likely gonna be competing at this upcoming Arnold to defend the title. And after the way the Olympia went down for him, where he went from being the most hyped up guy who could have challenged Chris Bumstead to placing 8th in the world, that must have been a really hard pill to swallow. Now we have absolutely no idea how the Arnold Classic is gonna go down for Wesley Vissers. I think the biggest mistake that Wesley made was just getting ready way too early for this year's Olympia. I mean, he was so ready that he was getting all those refeeds even at 8 weeks out of this year's Miss Olympia, to stop his weight from dropping any further. And if you look at the comparison pictures of him from the Arnold versus the Olympia, he looked in a great condition in both these shows, but it seemed like that he has lost some of the pop and fullness that he had at the Arnold earlier this year. And because of that, he lost some of that wow factor and the pop that made him look so great at this year's Arnold. Now that being said, I still think he can definitely bounce back, but we all know he needs to peak perfectly in order to hide some of his flaws. Most noticeably, his wide waistline, especially in comparison to the other top guys, which isn't as small as, for instance, Oskar Lashinsky from Mondino and Mike Sommerfeld. Plus, he needs to bring up his hamstrings and his glutes, which we all thought he did when we saw the guest posing of him just a few weeks before this year's Miss Olympia. But somehow the judges did not find him worthy and good enough to be in the first call-out. So, do you guys agree with Wesley's placing at the Olympia this year? And also hit the thumbs up button if you liked the video. And smash the subscribe button if you wanna come back for more. Thanks for watching.